Good morning, everybody. I'm not sure that I'm billed as an alternative view. I'm not sure it's alternative. It may be said in an alternative way. But first, may I say, I'm really pleased to be back here in Sri Lanka for the second year to celebrate what you've achieved here and also to applaud the thinking behind the conference and the bravery and the organisation and the energy that's gone into developing this, and hopefully to support and further its purpose. Mine may not be an alternative view exactly, but it's a view of someone who was once part of the rag trade, someone who believes passionately in the power and the need for education, great supporter of the creative industries, and last but not least, a semi-informed consumer. And I want to talk about 3 points, really, and they're all to do with aspects of communication. I'm not an expert, unlike most of you here, you in Sri Lanka in all your different fields, the delegates, the speakers, the buyers, you're all experts. I'm not. I'm a jack of all trades. But I know a lot of people, some of you and others, who are experts. And there are many others who are not here, who have something to say, something to offer, and knowledge to share. The sustainability agenda is such a complex maze, interlocking cultural, political, economic, social, scientific, philosophical, and practical issues, that it's very, very hard to see how you navigate all those areas and the complexity of that agenda. So the road is not straight going forward, that's for sure. And many have joined this road at different points with different agendas and are moving at different paces. You can witness what the industry has done here, which has been in the vanguard of many of the production industries around the world. You can see how important many of the NGOs have featured this agenda in the terms of their support and their development and their piloting of different relationships between the creator, the producer, and the consumer. You can see commercial companies, wherever they might be on the production line or the chain, negotiating different relationships. And also, many of my colleagues here and around the world, my academic colleagues, through their teaching and research, are moving this agenda forward. But for sure, all these agendas, all the different agendas, have a bottom line. They may be different, but they're there. And if the bottom lines for all those different people are in deficit, guess what? The whole thing's not sustainable. But you all know this. And you know the challenges better than I do. I think I have more questions than I have answers. I would ask this conference a question. Is it time to move up a notch, to gear up a little bit more? Is it too ambitious for this organisation to lead the next step and take this emerging model and use it with other industries in Sri Lanka? You may already be doing that, but also with our industry internationally. There's some what-ifs I want to ask. What if there were mechanisms available? What if someone or some global organisation could hold the ring, could coordinate, could be an umbrella? And what if, and it's a very big if, the core driver of sustaining life on Earth is robust enough to overcome everybody's individual egos and our local, national and international competitiveness? Would we all then get where we need to go rather faster? My second area of, I think, debate is education. part of the impetus of this conference and Linda's drive has come from the development and the support of design education to actually support industry, and taking Charty's theme, the fact that designers and creators actually do think outside the box, and that's really very important. Several of our delegates here are leading the way to increase and embed the knowledge and skills of design, production, and management of fashion students in their knowledge of meeting the ethical and sustainable agendas. But what else is going on? It's not enough that just design and management students understand this. What's being taught to the material scientists? What's being taught to the social scientists? What's being taught to the economists and the technologists and the engineers and the business managers? I don't know. I'm sure some of you know some of it. I know some things are happening because I see things popping up here and there. I see centres for sustainable business. I see investment in research into material technologies. I understand and know, well, I don't understand it because I'm not an expert, but I am aware of using of biomimetrics to grow fabrics. I am aware of nanotechnology in looking at the future-proofing of buildings. Very important. But I know these things by chance because they have come across my path. But I don't think that that is necessarily good enough. And many of you in education will know how difficult it is even to get the graphic designer to talk to the product designer, to talk to the architect, to talk to the fashion designer. But we have to try. And we have to try and bridge that gulf between the scientists, the technologists, the artists, the humanities, because we're all on the same path, or we should be. And I think if the safety of the future, if it's going to be preserved and work, we need to at least be in the same book, even if we struggle to be on the same page. And my final concern, and perhaps it's the biggest one, is about the consumer. How on earth do we transfer the ownership of this agenda to the majority? Firstly, to the majority of the Western consumers, because I think that's challenge enough and probably the most important place to start. How do we achieve the impact that we need? That debate has to go beyond the rhetoric of value added. It has to go beyond, apologies to us all, but it has to go beyond the chattering classes of consumers in the Western economies. In the big global context, many of the current activities and the profiling that we see, and to some extent we represent here, could start to look like a cottage industry. Now you might say that's very apposite given the theme of this conference for crafts, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. It's a very important and crucial role for particularly the sustainability of our cultures, which is important because that's where our identities come from. But there is a danger in this, and there's a danger that this agenda backs itself into being a fringe event on the world stage instead of being in the vanguard of a global social, cultural and political shift. In the dawning of an age of austerity, and I use that phrase advisedly because I think some of us don't even know how to spell austerity, let alone have any sense of what it really means. And frankly, I'm not sure that it's dawning on us that actually this agenda is well over the horizon and hurtling towards us. But in that age that we are entering in, how do we move beyond a business-to-business awareness of the need to rethink production and consumption? How do we establish a business to the wider public contract that protects our planet, does not deplete our resources, provides ethical employment, shares profit equitably, and not least deploys human creativity and satisfies our legitimate need for beauty and pleasure, the need to buy that beautiful pair of shoes, or have a wonderful piece of furniture, or have something that really functions for us in a very practical sense. How do we make it a priority for the many, not the few? And sadly, it is still the few if you look at a global context. And I might say, how do we frighten ourselves enough? Because sadly, I think it's the fear factor which actually will galvanise the movement from the few to the many. Not only how, but who. Who will be on the team? Will it be the retailer, the educator, the journalists, the ecologists, the technologists, the scientists, the politicians? And who has the blueprint? Remember, you're only in the vanguard if the others are following. And if they don't, then all those bottom lines will never get into profit. Thank you.